Hey guys, welcome back to English is Fun with Kris Amerikos. And if it's your first time here, you might not know who I am. But before we get into anything, before we talk about phrasal verbs, our topic for today, and before we talk about English in general, make sure that you come into the video and press like and press share so that other people can join the video too. And right now, I want you to write in the comments if you can hear me and see me, because that's very, very important. So if you can hear me and see me, write a comment right now. And if you can't hear me or you can't see me, then also write a comment, because that's also important for me to know. I want to make sure that everyone can see and hear me before we get started so that nobody misses anything. All right, guys? So, yeah. If you're just coming into the video, make sure you write that you can see me or hear me. And hear me, right? Both of them. So, guys, what I want to talk about today in this video, and it looks like we have about 350 or so people already on the video watching. So what I want to talk about right now in this video is phrasal verbs, okay? Now, I know this is a big topic that a lot of people have trouble learning in English. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. And when I'm talking, if you have any questions or you don't understand something, make sure that you write a comment and say, "Hey, Kris, shut up, I can't hear you." Right? Or you can write something else like "I don't understand, can you explain it differently?" All right, great. It looks like we've got around 430 people on the video now, so we can start. So if you guys don't know who I am, my name is Kris Huntley, or Kris Amerikos. And I make videos, English learning videos, and I help people learn English. That's my job. I'm an English teacher. I have a language school abroad where American teachers and British teachers and Australian teachers come and work and teach people English. I also help businesses around the world find the best teachers so that they can come and work for their businesses. And I do a lot of other things too, like I help people set up their own language businesses. So I see some comments right now. Today's topic is phrasal verbs. And if you guys don't know this already, phrasal verbs is kind of like my thing. Yeah, it's something that I know pretty well. I actually make a video about phrasal verbs every day. That's right. If you go to my YouTube channel, you can find a new video about phrasal verbs every day. So you can find my YouTube channel by looking at the description of this video, or you can just go to my page on Facebook and follow me or add me, and that way you'll never miss anything and you'll always get updates. So yeah, I'm looking at the comments right now. Hello from Poland. Hi from I'm in United States. I'm in Florida. Let's see. I see. Hello from Brazil. Hi, Brazil. Someone wrote, "I hate phrasal verbs." Well, why do you hate phrasal verbs, guys? I understand that they're difficult to learn, but they're really not that difficult. So I'm going to explain it today, and I hope that the way that I explain it is going to help you understand phrasal verbs on another level, help you understand them a little better. So I see someone wrote, "I teach English in Poland too." Very cool, very cool. I've never been to Poland. I've never taught English in Poland, but I have some Polish students. And last night I watched a very interesting Polish movie called The Lure. I don't know if I can recommend it here because it's kind of graphic, but let's see. Someone else wrote, "I'm an English teacher in Argentina." That's great, guys. Oh, hello from Kyrgyzstan. Hello from India. Hello from Italy. Hello from Crete. Crete is a beautiful place, and so is Argentina. I've been there too. Great, guys. It looks so great that everyone is here from different countries. Someone says, you're so cute with this beard. Well, what can I say? I'm getting older. So let's see. What kind of phrasal verbs are you going to teach us? Well, guys, today we're going to talk about the basics of phrasal verbs, okay? We'll start out with the easiest ideas about phrasal verbs, but the things that we need to know so that we can use phrasal verbs correctly, okay? And like I said, I do this video, well, I release videos about phrasal verbs every day on YouTube. And I do live videos here in this group every Tuesday at the same time. So you definitely want to follow my page, and you definitely want to click like on this page, English is Fun, so that you never miss a thing. And English is Fun has lots of useful resources. So today we're going to be talking about the basics of phrasal verbs and basic information that we need to know to use them correctly. All right? Hello from Kosovo, hello from Brazil, hello from Finland, hello from Mexico. Wow, guys, this is amazing. And we already have 720 people on the video, so that's great. So guys, let's go ahead and get started. Before I talk about phrasal verbs, first of all, I saw that there's a lot of people here who are teachers of English or who are, English speakers who live in different countries. And I want to tell you guys that you can contact me if you're trying to open up your own business. I've done this. I've opened several businesses about language teaching and different types of businesses, online, offline. So if this is something that you're interested in, send me a message. And you can find lots of resources because I put out videos all the time. So add my page, follow my page, search for me online, English with Kris Amerikos. All right, guys? So let's talk about our topic today. Our topic today is phrasal verbs. And this is a very, very big topic. There are thousands, probably hundreds of thousands of phrasal verbs. And this is one of the topics that is, the most difficult for English learners. Probably articles like a and the, that's difficult for people. There's also, present perfect, that's difficult for people. Phrasal verbs is one of those very difficult, most difficult, I'd say, topics for English learners. Let's see. Someone wrote, "This topic's very interesting." Great. I hope you really like it. Let's see. Someone else wrote, "How long will this video be?" The lesson today will be about 45 minutes long, maybe an hour. All right. So we're talking about phrasal verbs. This is a very important topic. And first, I want to ask you, why are phrasal verbs difficult to learn? So everyone who's watching right now, make sure that you write the answer. Why do you think phrasal verbs are so difficult to learn? I see someone wrote, "I'm interested in teaching online." Great, definitely send me a message and I'll tell you more information about doing that. So guys, write your answers in the comments below this video. Why are phrasal verbs difficult to learn? Okay? I'm waiting for you guys to write some answers there. All right, well, I'm gonna go ahead and tell you why I think they're difficult. Oh, okay, I see some people have answered now. They have multiple meanings. Yes, this is true. They have multiple meanings. That's one of the reasons why they're so difficult. So, okay, let's talk about it. There's really two main reasons why phrasal verbs are difficult. The first reason is native speakers think that these verbs and these words are easy. Native speakers like me, people from United States, England, Australia, New Zealand, Canada, they think that these words are easy. And you might be thinking, why? Why would people think that they're easy if they're so difficult? But honestly, it's because for us, these words are very small words. Like if we say put and we say off, we think that these words are very small, right? Each word only has 3 letters. And that means that these small words put together, to us, to native speakers, they seem really easy. So when we talk to other people from other countries, native speakers who are not English teachers, they don't understand that these words have so many different meanings, and they're difficult for other people to understand, right? What could we say instead of phrasal verbs? Instead of using phrasal verbs, we could use Latin words or Greek words, right? Like, let's take the example, go on. When we say go on, it means continue. But most people from most countries know the word continue, but they might not know the phrasal verb go on, because continue comes from Latin, and go on is just an English phrasal verb. But native speakers don't understand this when they're speaking, right? They just speak automatically. So yeah, that's one reason why they're very difficult. The second reason that they're difficult is that they have a lot of meanings, like you guys said already. And they usually have at least 2 meanings. Almost every phrasal verb has at least 2 meanings. So to give you an example, we could say, well, let's use stand up, right? To stand up is when we, go higher after we've been sitting or lying somewhere. But stand up for something means to defend or protect or fight for something. So as you can see, these are 2 different meanings. And a lot of phrasal verbs have 2 different meanings at least, and sometimes more. So guys, when we're talking about phrasal verbs, that's why they're so difficult. And we want to remember that this is the reason why native speakers might think that it's easy. I'm going to go to the comments for a second. I see someone writing, you talk too much and say nothing at all. Well, cool. You're welcome to exit the video. Thanks for that. If you have some patience, though, you'll see the content that applies to you. So yeah, there's 2 reasons why they're important. Native speakers think that they're easy, and they have 2 different meanings usually. Now, what are those 2 different meanings? We can separate these 2 different meanings into directional meanings and metaphoric meanings. All right? Now, you might not understand what that means right now, but let's go back to our example with stand up. So usually when we use stand up, we're talking about a directional meaning, right? Direction is like north, south, east, west. So when we're using a phrasal verb with a directional meaning, it's easier to understand. Stand up, sit down, right? Here it's very logical. But when we use the metaphoric meaning of phrasal verbs, we need to understand some different type of meaning, right? It's not direct. It's not clear at the beginning. So let's go back to some of the comments here. Is there any rule that tells us what preposition should be used with a certain verb? Yes, we'll talk about that a little later. There's no rule, but there is a way that we can understand it more easily. Let's see. I find the idiomatic meanings are the ones that are more difficult to learn. Students need to memorize them, can't rely on rules. That's true. That's true. So yeah, metaphoric or idiomatic meanings of phrasal verbs are more difficult to learn. So how do we construct a phrasal verb? What is a phrasal verb? A phrasal verb is a verb plus a particle. And this particle might be a preposition or an article or another word. It's usually a small word. So we have a verb and a particle. That's how we make a phrasal verb. And sometimes we have more than one particle, but we'll talk about that a little later. So when we talk about phrasal verbs, we also want to understand something about their grammar. And we want to understand that there are different groups of phrasal verbs as far as using them grammatically. Okay? So when we're using phrasal verbs and we want to understand the grammar of phrasal verbs, there are 3 categories that we're going to talk about. But before we do that, I want to make sure that everyone understands something about building sentences in English. Okay? When we build sentences in English, it's very important that we do it in a certain way, the correct way. Because in other languages, maybe we can move the words around in the sentence, but in English, we have very strict, very exact sentence structure, usually. So let's talk a little bit about sentence structure before we go back to phrasal verbs, because this will help us understand how to use phrasal verbs and how to use the grammar of phrasal verbs. Let's see. Sir, can you take your class more than one day? I do this video once every week, but if you send me a message, we can talk about classes as often as you like. Someone wrote, what's the best way to learn English? The best way to learn English is to practice, 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 and also to speak with native speakers. And let's see. Groups, categories, your accent is cool. Thank you. And Maria writes, go to the point and provide proper examples. Yeah, there will be examples, but you're going to have to be patient. So yeah, guys, let's go back to sentence structure. So we need to understand sentence structure to understand phrasal verbs. Typical sentence structure in English looks like this. First, we have a subject, then we have a verb, then we have an object. And then sometimes we have another object, and sometimes we have more information, like a time or a place. All right, so this is the typical way that we construct sentences. This is usual sentence structure in English. Now, this doesn't mean that it's always like this. It doesn't mean that you can't do it a little differently, but sometimes we use it differently to talk more about and accent something different instead of just saying it the usual way. So let's see, where are you from? I'm from the United States. I'm from Florida. That's where I am right now. And yeah, if you want to find out more information about me or watch videos about other topics, you can go to my page or to my YouTube channel. All the information is in the description to this video. And those of you who stick around in this video and who stay with us, they are going to learn a lot about phrasal verbs because this is just the beginning. Okay, guys, so I talked about sentence structure. And so what is the subject? We said we start the sentence with the subject. The subject is the person or thing that does the action, okay? Does the action. The verb is the action, and the object is the person or thing that receives or gets the action. So subject does the action, verb is the action, and object receives the action. And there are 2 different types of objects. There's a direct object and there's an indirect object. So, so I'm going to give you an example where we have 2 objects. For example, I gave the ball to the dog. So in this example, I gave the ball to the dog. The word I is the subject, gave is the verb, the ball is the direct object, and to the dog is the indirect object. All right? So we need to understand sentence structure before we talk about the grammar of phrasal verbs. And that's what we are going to talk about now. And guys, if I don't answer your comments directly or immediately, just, you can write them again, or you can send me a message later, and then I'll be able to answer, because there are so many people writing comments that I can't read all of them. All right? See, I see a comment here. I'm going to be a regular student in your online classes. That's great to hear. You're welcome to come back at the same time every week on Tuesdays. Yeah, someone else wrote, phrasal verbs are very difficult. I agree, they're very difficult. That's why we're talking about them today. And if you want to learn more about phrasal verbs after our lesson today, you can go to my YouTube channel, where I have a video about phrasal verbs every single day. Every day. All right? Let's see, Lucy says, I used to teach all the grammar in Poland, but in England, there's a different way of teaching the language to the foreign students. That's true. When you're in an English-speaking country, people learn English differently and for different purposes. Someone's asking a question about my example. Why is dog an indirect object? Good question. So we said that the subject is I, the action is gave, and the action goes directly from me to the ball. That's why the ball is the direct object. And the action does not go directly to the dog. First it goes to the ball, direct object, and then it goes to the dog, indirect object. Okay? That's why it's indirect. So let's talk about phrasal verb grammar. There are three groups or three categories of phrasal verbs. And in the first group, we don't have an object. Okay, so you need to understand what an object is to understand this. That's why we talked about sentence structure. So you need to understand that there are three groups, and in the first group, the phrasal verb does not have an object. And I will give you examples here in a minute. So just wait for it. The second rule of the first group is that the verb and the particle cannot be separated. We cannot separate them. We cannot put another word in the middle. So we have the verb, we have the particle. We cannot put something in the middle. We have to keep them together. We cannot separate them. Okay? So no object, verb and particle cannot be separated. And a good example of this one is run away. Run away, right? We don't say run away him, right? We can't say that because there's no object. Just the words together, run away, have a special meaning. And we can't move these words. We can't separate these words. And that means that because we can't separate them, if we put something in the middle, like run him away, then it loses this special meaning. Let's see, some more comments. If you need, if you want help on Skype, you can send me a message, or you can go to my page and sign up for lessons. What else? More examples, please, for each group. Yeah, so we can also, for example, we said run away. We could also say that sit down is a good example of the first group. A lot of times when we use verbs from this first group, we use them as commands. And this is the group that probably has the least amount of phrasal verbs. All right, so there's no object and we cannot separate the words. Great, let's go to the second group. And first I want to make sure you understood about run away. So we cannot separate them. We cannot say, run there away. Okay? This changes the meaning of everything. And we cannot say, run away him, like I said before. This is also not correct because we cannot have an object for this group of phrasal verbs. Now let's go to the second group of phrasal verbs. And in this, someone wrote, run away from prison. Actually, we would use a different word for this because run away is really about, running in a direction so that you move further from something. But from prison, you're already inside. So first you need to escape. So we could say break out of prison, for example. Good questions in the chat. Someone else wrote, pick up is a phrasal verb. Yes, it is. That's absolutely correct. Pick up is a phrasal verb. Great. So the second category of phrasal verbs, this category has an object. So remember, we said the first group, or the first category, did not have an object, like with run away. But the second group has an object. And in the second group, like in the first group, we cannot separate these two words. We cannot separate the verb and the particle. Okay, we cannot do that. A good example of the second category is look for. Look for. So what does look for mean? It doesn't mean that I'm looking at you. Yeah, that's look at. But we're talking about look for. So before you start to think about this, we need to remember that look for, yes, it's connected to look, but it has a special meaning. This is what we do before we find something. First we look for it, and then we find it. If we lose something, we need to look for it. Let's see, another question here. Where are you from? I am from the United States. Right now I live in Florida, and I teach about phrasal verbs every day. So you can find me on my YouTube channel, or you can add me on Facebook. All of my links are in the description of this video. So just click on the video or look above the video, and you'll find all of the links. And thank you so much for all of the compliments that you guys are writing, okay? Thank you so much for the support. I'm glad that you guys like it. I'm glad you guys are here, and I'll keep it up every Tuesday. And, to show me that you really like it, go ahead and press like on this video and press share so more people get in here and see this information. So let's continue. Look for. This is an example of the second category. Because it has an object, we have to look for something, and the verb and the particle cannot be separated. So we say look for something, but we cannot say look something for. That's not correct. So, for example, we cannot say, I looked my keys for. No, that's not correct. But we can say, I looked for my keys. Okay, because here we have an object after the verb, and in the middle of these two words, we cannot separate them. We cannot separate these two words. That's the rules of the second group. All right, now we're going to talk about the third group, and the third group is the last group that we'll talk about today. Let's see, someone wrote, Kris, how many languages do you speak? Well, I speak one language, English. Let's see, another question. Do you just teach phrasal verbs? I teach phrasal verbs, and I teach a lot of other things. I teach teachers how they should teach students. I teach people how to train teachers, teach people how to interview teachers. I teach students all kinds of English, business English, exam preparation, everything. Another question. Do you give special classes for schools? Yes, I do. I've worked with a lot of schools in a few different countries, and I love working with schools. So if you have any questions about that, send me a message. All right, group 3. Now, remember, group 1 does not have an object. Group 2 has an object, and group 3 has an object. All right? We also said that group 1, we cannot separate the verb and the particle. In group 2, we cannot separate the verb and the particle. But in group 3, we can separate the verb and the particle. Okay, so we can move these words around. And someone already wrote in the chat, pick up. Pick up is a good example. So, for example, we could say, pick it up. Or we could say, pick me up. Or pick those toys up. Pick those toys up. Or we can leave this at the end. So we can move them or not. So we could say, pick these toys up. That's okay. Or we could say, pick up those toys. That's okay too. We can move these words around. But the third category has one more rule. If the object is a preposition, if the object is a pronoun, I forgot the word there for a second. If the object is a pronoun, it must go between the verb and the particle. It must go in the middle. That's right, guys. So in our example before, well, okay, let's use a different example. Let's use the example turn off. All right. So let's see. I love to read down English. A speaker down it. Sorry, I didn't understand that comment. If you share this video, you can see it again and again on your own wall pages. That's true. That's true. Good reason to share. Someone else wrote, don't you speak Russian? No, I only speak English, guys. So, yeah. You know, they say that someone who speaks 2 languages is bilingual. Someone who speaks 3 languages is trilingual. And someone who speaks 1 language is English. So that's about me. Someone said, please tell your channel on YouTube. All of my links for classes, for YouTube, for everything are in the description of this video. Okay? So just look above or below this video and you'll find out everything that you need to know. Someone said, what's your profession? I teach English, I manage language centers and language schools, and I help schools find language teachers. Let's see. Okay, someone wrote that they didn't understand the explanation about look for. So let's go back to look for. Let's go back to our examples from each category. In our first category, we had the example run away. And our rules of the first category are no object, verb and particle cannot be separated. So our example here is just run away. We don't add other words here usually. Okay, that's the first kind of phrasal verb. The second kind of phrasal verb, in the second group, it has an object, but still the verb and the particle cannot be separated. So here we can say, for example, look for your keys. Look for your keys. So here's the object, your keys. But we cannot move these words. We cannot say, look your keys for. So the object needs to go after the phrasal verb. And with the third category, we said that there's more rules, right? The third category has an object. The third category, phrasal verbs, the verb and particle can be separated. And we have one extra rule. If the object is a pronoun, it must go in the middle. So if we have verb and we have particle, the pronoun can go in the middle. And what's a pronoun? A pronoun is I, you, he, she, it, we, you, they, or other words like me, us, him, her, them. So these are pronouns. And when our object of the sentence is a pronoun, for our third category of phrasal verb, we have to put it between the phrasal verb the verb and the particle. And to show this example, we have the verb turn off. Okay, so I'm going to show you 4 sample sentences, 4 examples. And I want you to think, is this correct or is this not correct? According to the rule that we just talked about, okay? So 4 sentences, you tell me which one is correct and which one is not correct. Are you guys ready? Let's see, I'll answer a few of the comments first. Are there any differences between British and American English phrasal verbs? Yes, there are. Sometimes phrasal verbs, especially the metaphoric meanings, are different in different countries where people speak English. So in Australia and England and United States might have different meanings. Is in an online English course you indicate? I don't know what you mean by indicate, but yes, I have lots of online courses, so you can send me a message and find out more about that. All right, are you guys ready? So I'm going to give you 4 sentences. You tell me which ones are correct and incorrect. The first one is, turn off the lights. Is this correct or incorrect? Okay, this is number 1. Number 1, correct or incorrect? You tell me. The second sentence, turn the lights off. Is this correct or incorrect? Just write it in the comments section. You can write number 1, correct or incorrect. Number 2, correct or incorrect, like that. Okay, the third sentence, turn them off. Is that correct or not? Turn them off. And the last example is turn off them. Turn off them. Is that correct or is that incorrect? That was example number 4. And you should understand that number 1 was correct. Number 2 was correct. Number 3 was correct, but number 4 was not correct because we have a pronoun. A pronoun. Them. Them is a pronoun. And when we have a pronoun as our object, this word goes in the middle of the verb and the particle. So let's I'll show you that again real quick. Turn off the lights. This is correct. Turn the lights off. This is correct. Turn them off. This is correct. Turn off them. Not correct. All right. So guys, yeah, number 4 is incorrect. I see a lot of comments here saying that it's incorrect. Everybody understood. That's great. Very good, guys. So the last thing that I want to tell you is I want to talk about the best way to learn phrasal verbs. Okay? Because a lot of people, they see that there's thousands of phrasal verbs and they get just overwhelmed or shocked or something. They don't know how to move forward. They don't know how to start learning phrasal verbs and how to do it correctly. So I'm going to tell you how you can learn them and the best way to learn phrasal verbs. Honestly, the best way to learn phrasal verbs is not by learning lots and lots of different verbs. The best way to learn phrasal verbs is by learning particles. Okay, so we talked about that. Phrasal verbs have 2 parts. They have the verb and the particle. So if we say, off, then take is our verb and off is our particle. And each particle has some general meanings that we can see are the same with lots of different verbs. And that's why it's very important for us to start by learning particles, not by learning verbs. Okay, guys? Now, this is probably the part of the video that most people wanted to see when we started the video, but we needed to start from the basics so that everyone understood what we were talking about. All right? So, right now, if you haven't done it already, make sure you share this video on your page, and then you'll be able to watch it again and again, and other people who you know will be able to watch too. So we need to learn particles. And let's use, for example, today, the particle up. All right? The particle up. Now, we can think about the particle as having a directional meaning, right? Up. That's easy. And also, we need to understand that this particle has a metaphoric meaning, okay? So when we talked about directional and metaphoric meanings, really we're talking about particles. They're the ones that show this meaning. And for example, the particle up. We could say stand up or wake up, right? And these are mostly about direction. But we can also use up with other verbs. You might not know it, or you might not have heard it before, but let's imagine this situation. You invite someone to your house to have a meal, and they come to your house and you put food on a plate in front of them, okay? And they're waiting, like a good guest, they're waiting for you to come to the table and to be ready to eat. And you tell them, hey, you don't need to wait. You can start now. What can we say? Which phrasal verb can we use? We can say, eat up. Eat up. Yeah, we might just tell them, you don't need to wait. Eat up. And that's because the particle up also means to start something or to do something faster or more. So that means that when we see verbs with up, sometimes it has this meaning also. So we can tell someone, eat up. Or maybe you're at a bar and you just got a new drink and the bartender says, we're closing in 5 minutes. Yeah, it means we need to probably drink fast, right? So our friend might tell us, drink up. The bar is closing in 5 minutes. And this means start drinking or drink faster. So guys, the best way to learn phrasal verbs is to learn particles. All right, guys? So thank you so much for joining us today for this video. And make sure you check out all of the other videos that I've done. Before this, we did videos on lots of different topics. And you can find all of those videos on my page, in my group, on my YouTube channel. So make sure you add me to your friends or follow me on Facebook. And you can search on Facebook or on Google for English with Kris Amerikos. And that will give you a link to all of my videos and everything that I've done. So guys, if you enjoyed today's lesson, make sure you press like, make sure that you share. I see someone said, I can't find you on YouTube. Well, you can see all of the links to all of my pages and my YouTube channel and everything else. You can find all of that in the description of this video. So if you click on the video, it will open up and you'll see the description, or the description might be above or below the video. So just go there and you'll find my YouTube channel. If you can't find it right here, right now, I'm going to write it in the chat. It's a Google link, so you might need to copy it, but yeah. So guys, yeah, if you liked today's video, make sure you come back next week, because I'm here every Tuesday at the same time. And if you didn't like today's video, or you didn't like the topic, or you felt like it wasn't difficult enough for you, write me that, send me a message. And that way I'll know what topics I can use next time, It's not cool to just complain. So make sure that you write me and you give me your, your input. You tell me what videos you would like to see and what topics you would like to see next time. So guys, thanks again for watching. Make sure you go to my pages and you add everything so that you get all of the updates and so that you always see when there's a new video. Thanks again. And for those of you who didn't see it, the link to my YouTube channel is in the comments. And you can also find all of the links to all of my pages in the description to this video. Thanks a lot for watching, guys, and I will see you next week. Take care. Bye-bye.